In today's video, we're going to continue our NHL prediction series for the 18-19 season. Today, I'm going to make my predictions and tell you who I think are going to be the NHL award winners at the end of the year. And that's coming up next. Hey everyone, and welcome back to another video here at Top Shelf Hockey. If you're new to the channel, thanks for stopping by. We review and discuss all 31 NHL teams, so if you're a huge hockey fan, consider subscribing and clicking the bell so you don't miss anything. So as I mentioned off the top here, today I'm going to go ahead and make some more predictions as part of our prediction series leading up to the 18-19 season. Today we're talking about the NHL awards. So I'm going to give you my prediction on who the finalists are going to be, and out of those three finalists, who I think the winner is going to be for most of these awards. Now there's a couple awards I didn't bother doing. I didn't do like the Masterton or the Lady Byng. Those ones I find are just a little bit too hard to predict, and it really kind of depends on a lot of other things here. So we're going to cover the trophies that are based on statistics like the Art Ross Trophy as well as the Rocket Richard. We're also going to cover the other awards that are based on top players like your Hart Trophy, your Vezina Trophy, your Norris Trophy, your Calder Trophy, and your Selke Trophy. So let's jump right in here. We're going to get started here with the Rocket Richard Trophy. Now if you watch some of my other prediction videos here, one of the first ones I did was the 5 bold predictions you're going to see for the 18-19 season. And I did kind of touch on this trophy here a little bit where I said there was going to be 3 players hit 50 goals for the 18-19 season. So those 3, in my opinion, will be the top 3 finalists for the Rocket Richard Trophy. The 3 finalists will be Patrik, Laine, Alex Ovechkin, and Auston Matthews. I went on record to predict that all 3 will crack 50 goals this season. So again, Laine, Ovechkin, and Matthews all hit 50 goals, but Laine will win. I think he's going to have the most. I can see him maybe hitting 52 or 53 with Ovechkin and Matthews either cracking 50 or 51. Now jumping over to the Art Ross Trophy, the top 3 scorers for the league this year, I think are going to be Evgeny Malkin, Nathan MacKinnon, and Connor McDavid. Now, I think Nathan MacKinnon would have been closer to that conversation last season had he not had some injuries. I do see him continuing his strong play from last year and building upon a strong team here with the Colorado Avalanche, moving him back to the playoffs. So personally, I think McKinnon's going to give McDavid a much closer run than he did last year. Of course, Evgeny Malkin's always a beast and puts up tons of points as long as he can stay healthy. So I do see Malkin having a healthy season and being in the conversation as well. But in the end, I see Connor McDavid winning the award here once again as the scoring leader in the NHL. Next up, let's do the Selke Trophy. Now, one guy who's always in the conversation you can bank on, and it will be again, is Patrice Bergeron. He's everything for the Bruins, the strongest two-way player that we've seen here in recent memory. Very consistent with his play year over year. You can usually bank on 30 goals and him being one of the top defensive guys in the league. Now, I also think this year we're going to see some newcomers jump into the conversation. One of those guys being Alexander Barkov of the Florida Panthers. He's a very underrated two-way guy, and I do see him getting into the conversation for that trophy this year. But I see one of the finalists from last year who did not win coming back this year even stronger and winning the award this year, and that's Sean Couturier of the Philadelphia Flyers. Couturier kind of ran as an underrated player for a long time as well until he recently kind of really emerged last year. And I see that strong play continuing, and I see him taking home the Selke Trophy this season. Next up, let's take a look at the Calder Trophy for the top rookie. Now, I do think there's going to be a lot of players really in this conversation for the bulk of the season, but near the end, we're going to see if you guys really pull away. But this year's rookie class is going to be absolutely tremendous. One of the rookies in the conversation for sure will be top first overall pick in 2018, Rasmus Dahlin of the Buffalo Sabres. I do think it's a little bit more challenging for some defensemen to win the award just because of all the parts that go along with their job, not only playing the offensive role, but the defensive side of the game as well. Dahlin will certainly be in the conversation. One of his teammates, Casey Mittelstadt, I expect to have a tremendous breakout rookie season for the Sabres as well. Likely getting a lot of top 6 minutes with some pretty offensive forwards. I think with the moves the Sabres have made, Mittelstadt's going to probably get to play with more offensive players than I would have thought back a few months ago. So I do see Casey Mittelstadt really breaking through and being in the conversation as well. But unfortunately, I think both of them are going to be trumped here by Vancouver Canucks forward Elias Pettersson. I see Pettersson having more of an opportunity, an even bigger role with that club, and a chance to really play some other dynamic young players in Vancouver. And I think Elias Pettersson is going to be your top rookie for the 18-19 season. Next up, let's jump over and take a look at the top goalies for the Vezina Trophy. Now, this one was a little bit tougher to nail down, and it's probably a little harder to predict because there's so many good goalies in the league. But personally, I think you're going to see a couple of guys certainly be in the conversation, and that's John Gibson of the Ducks, as well as Andrei Vasilevskiy of the Tampa Bay Lightning. Now, Vasilevsky's going to rack up the wins and certainly have the better statistics amongst a lot of goalies because he's on such a strong team, but he is a heck of a goaltender as well and certainly deserves to be in the conversation. With John Gibson, a lot of it's going to depend on, obviously, how the Ducks play. Now, I do have some concerns over the Ducks kind of heading into the season and other aspects of their game. Obviously, the Ducks team play will impact Gibson's stats a little bit, but I do see him playing a strong enough game throughout the whole year to be in the conversation as well. So between Vasilevsky and Gibson, and of course Connor Hellebuyck of the Winnipeg Jets, obviously he had a breakout year last year, and I see that strong play continuing. He's got a heck of a team in front of him to boot, so it makes his job even easier at times. But really, Connor Hellebuyck proved last year that he can be one of the top couple goalies in this league. So those three guys are all going to be in the conversation. But I think the guy that's going to take the trophy is Sergei Bobrovsky of the Columbus Blue Jackets. I do see him having another fantastic year, and he's playing for a contract too. So I think Bobrovsky's really going to crank it up this year and have one heck of a year for the Columbus Blue Jackets. So I'm predicting Sergei Bobrovsky is going to be your Vezina Trophy winner for the 18-19 season. Next up, let's talk about the Norris Trophy for top defenseman. Now, there's all kinds of guys here as well who can be in the conversation year after year. It's certainly going to be, a tough award to predict for sure. Like, I see guys like Drew Doughty being in the conversation all the time. He's certainly one of the better two-way guys in the NHL. He plays a strong offensive game, strong defensive game. He's on a pretty solid team as well in LA. So Doughty's certainly going to be in the conversation. Victor Hedman won last year, plays on a strong team in Tampa, but he's a big part of that. He's a huge beast for them on the offense and defensive side of the game. So he certainly deserves to be in the conversation. You've got up-and-comer Seth Jones, who really broke out last year, and he's kind of emerged for a lot of people to be a top 5, top 10 defenseman, depending on how you see him at the NHL here now. And really, Jones is, in my opinion, he's still a little bit underrated. But I think this year he's going to get more credit and a little bit more recognition for his efforts. I don't see him winning the award like Hedman and Doughty here, but I do see all three of those guys being heavily considered for sure. But I think the bounce-back guy that's going to come back and win this award is going to be Erik Karlsson of the Ottawa Senators, or whoever else he may be playing with throughout this season. Either way, I see Karlsson on a mission to get back to his winning ways, to prove all the doubters wrong that he can play a strong game like he did in the past. I mean, it wasn't more than 2 seasons ago. People were saying he was the 3rd or 4th best player in the world, because obviously he's won this trophy before in the past. He certainly has all the capabilities in the world, but after having fully recovered from the previous year's surgery and having a normal year of training, regardless of what jersey he has on, I do see him having a tremendous year and taking this award home in the 18-19 season. Last up here, we've got the Hart Trophy for League MVP. Now again, this is a tough trophy to predict just because of how the definition of MVP is. I mean, a lot of the writers who vote for these awards, which don't really consider guys who don't make the playoffs, which in my opinion is not really the most fair. Obviously, there's the Lindsay Award as well, which is voted on by the players, which kind of makes up for that a little bit. One of the top players in the conversation this year is going to be Kucherov of the Tampa Bay Lightning. I do see Kucherov not getting as much recognition as he's deserved here in the last few years, and I think part of that is because he plays on such a strong team. But for some reason, I mean, I just see Tampa Bay still having a really strong year, but I see Kucherov shining a little bit more than some of the other guys like Stamkos this coming year. I'm not sure if Stamkos is going to have a down year, injury, or something like that, but I just see Kucherov really sticking out more this year and really proving just how valuable he is. So I think Kucherov is going to get himself into the Hart Trophy nominations this coming season. Another guy to really look out for is Mark Scheifele of the Winnipeg Jets. The Winnipeg Jets last year proved how strong of a team they were in the playoffs. Scheifele is a huge part of that. Obviously, he's got a little bit of a dynamic duo up front with him and Blake Wheeler as well. You got Laine on the second line as well. So there's certainly lots of offensive weapons there to argue who's most valuable. But I really see Mark Scheifele really breaking through, leading the Jets to a really strong regular season finish, being near the top, near the President's Trophy, and Scheifele getting into the Hart Trophy nominations. However, I don't see Scheifele or Kucherov, unfortunately, winning the award. I think the guy who's going to take home the hardware this year is going to be Nathan MacKinnon of the Colorado Avalanche. I think he's going to lead Colorado more than likely back to the playoffs. Obviously, that's a big factor, like I said, for a lot of guys doing actual voting that taking into consideration here. And I do think he's going to even surpass last year's totals if he can stay healthy and do what he did last year for a full 82 games. Nate MacKinnon's going to take another leap forward and really step onto the scene as one of the league's top players. And I see him getting recognized for his efforts with the 18-19 season Hart Trophy. So those are my predictions for the trophies for the NHL for the 18-19 season. I'd love to hear your thoughts about my predictions, and I'd love to hear what yours are. Let me know down in the comments who you think is going to win the awards, and we can continue the conversation down in the comment section. If you're new to the channel here, I hope you consider subscribing. We cover all 31 NHL teams, and there's plenty of content here for all hockey fans to enjoy. So if you're new, hit that subscribe button. If you like this video, make sure you hit the like button as well. I'd appreciate it if you did. As always, thank you very much for watching, everybody. We will catch you next time.